Here in this video, I will discuss about the paper pattern of CS2 and which all types of questions will be asked in CS2 and the weightage of the chapters in CS2. So, the first chapter is Introduction to Processors and Organization of 8085. Here 1 mark question will be only one question. For 3 marks there will be 4 questions, and for 4 marks there will be 2 questions, and for 5 marks there will be no questions from chapter 1. So 1 mark, only one question will be for 1 mark, only 4 questions will be for 3 marks, only 2 questions will be there for 4 marks, and no questions for 5 marks from chapter 1, as you might have seen the paper pattern in 11th. Question number 1 has 4 questions, 1 marks each. Question number 1B has 3 questions, out of which you have to attempt only 2 questions, which is of 3 marks each. Then question number 2A, again 3 questions. You have to attempt only 2 questions, 3 marks each. Likewise, if you go on till question number 5 will be divided into 2 subparts. First part will consist of 3 questions and second part will consist of 3 questions. Out of these 2 parts you have to attempt only one, and in that also you are given choice to attempt only 2 out of 3. So now chapter 2 is instruction set and programming of 8085. Here also, if you'll see, there will be only one question for 1 mark, 4 questions for 3 mark, and none of the questions will be there for 4 marks, but 6 questions are there for 5 marks. This chapter is totally based on assembly language programming for 8085 microprocessor. Then we have chapter 3, Introduction to Microcontroller. Again, as you can see, the bifurcation, 1 mark question, only one question is for 1 mark, then 1 question for 3 mark, then 1 question for 4 mark, and no questions for 5 marks from this chapter. There are total 5 chapters. The 4th one, okay, here they have skipped chapter 3. Chapter 3 is Introduction to Intel x86 family. Here we will be learning about different processors of Intel family. Then we have chapter 5, Networking Technologies. Again, you can see the bifurcation, 1 question for 1 mark, 3 questions for 3 mark, 2 questions for 4 mark, and no questions for 5 marks. So this was the bifurcation of CS2 chapters along with its weightage. Now we will start with first chapter, Introduction to Microprocessor and Organization of 8085. This is your chapter 1. What is microprocessor? As you can see, the definition is given here. See, here definition is given. The microprocessor is an IC that contains much of the processing capabilities of a computer. It is small but extremely complex LSI device that is programmable. So what is microprocessor? Microprocessor is nothing but a CPU which does all the arithmetic and logical operations for the computer. It's an IC which does the processing of a computer. It is small in size. It is small in size because it is complex LSI device. LSI means large scale integration. Large scale integration means is the process of integrating thousands of transistors on a single silicon semiconductor microchip. Okay? Before, the digital computers were large and expensive machines. Now their shape and size have changed. Their shape has reduced. Size is reduced because of large scale integration. There are many companies which are manufacturing microprocessors, and the most popular companies are Intel, Motorola, Zilog, Toshiba. In this chapter, we are going to learn different features of microprocessor. We are going to learn evolution of microprocessors, and we will study in detail a very popular microprocessor chip, which is Intel 8085. Okay, we are going to learn 8085 microprocessor because you can say it's a generic model of microprocessor. Okay, it's general. Okay, now we will start with evolution of microprocessors. Before explaining evolution of microprocessor, I want to explain two terms. One is assembly language programming and second is high level programming language. Okay, assembly programming language is machine language, the language which is understood by the machine. High level language is a language which is understood by humans, and that high level language is then converted into machine language which is understood by machine language. An example of high level programming language is, which we have studied, is C++. Okay, in CS2 we will be learning assembly programming language for 8085, Intel 8085. Now we will start with evolution of microprocessor. In less than 15 years, okay, there are 5 generations of microprocessors which we are going to learn. The first generation microprocessors. These microprocessors were of 4-bit. 4-bit means in one go it can process data up to data of length 4-bit. You know the difference between what is bits, what are bytes. This we have studied before. Okay, a bit can be 0 or 1. The first microprocessor introduced in the market was Intel 404. This was a 4-bit PMOS microprocessor. PMOS is a MOSFET. It's a transistor. It's a type of transistor which is used to develop this IC. Microprocessor is a IC. So PMOS microprocessor Intel 4004 is a PMOS microprocessor which is of 4-bit. So in first generation we are going to talk about the year 1971 and 1972. In 1971, this Intel 4004 was designed by scientist Fragen. This processor was used in calculators. It was not that much powerful, and it was inadequate for general purpose computing, like for addition, arithmetic addition, logical operations, and or operations which we have studied: addition, subtraction, multiplication. It could do addition, multiplication, but logical operations like and or, it was not efficient to do that. In 1972, then Intel introduced 8008. In 1971, Intel introduced 4004. And in 1972, Intel introduced 8008. It was first general purpose 8-bit. Now as you can see, the word length is 8-bit microprocessor. Microprocessor is also known as mu-p. The symbol, as you can see, 8-bit mu-p. Okay. With the development of LSI technology with 45 instructions. Now I want to tell you what are instructions. As we have discussed, assembly programming language, these are machine codes, or you can say this is the language which is directly understood by the machine. But high level programming language is what? Which is understood by humans, which then converted into machine language, which is understood by machines. For example, C++. C++ is high level programming language. It is understood by humans. Humans write the code, and that code is compiled and converted into machine code. This work is done by compiler. Okay, then the machine understands the instructions given by the human to the machine. Okay, but to give instructions to processors, to the machine, we require assembly programming language, which is nothing but instructions given directly to the machine. Okay, so this processor, which was of 8-bit, Intel 8008, had 45 instructions. Okay, Intel introduced its successor after this. After 8008, what came? 8080. So there were competitors of Intel's, and one of those competitors were Motorola, which introduced 6800. Okay, then we'll talk about 62nd generation 8-bit microprocessor. So in first generation was in the year 1971 and 1972. Now second generation we are going to discuss from 1974 and 1976. In 1974, after 8080 and 6800, what came? Z80 8085 from Intel. Z80 and 8085 were from Intel, and 6809 from Motorola. They were of 8-bit microprocessors. Now this entire chapter, here we are going to learn about the we are going to study about the microprocessor chip Intel 8085. So 8085 is from second generation, and it is 8-bit microprocessor which was developed by Intel. Then in 1976, 8085 was introduced. These MUPs, as I had told you, microprocessors are also known as MUP. This was 8-bit microprocessor. Now the microprocessors were evolving towards a complete microcomputer. Microcomputer, you can say your PC, laptop is your microcomputer. So the evolution of microprocessor was towards microcomputer. Okay, microprocessor with ROM, RAM, clock, input output ports all together are known as microcomputer. So the evolution of microprocessors was towards my development of microcomputer. Okay, then third generation microprocessor we will talk about. Third generation, this was 16-bit microprocessor. Here we are going to talk about the year 1978. But do you know the difference between mini computer and microcomputer? Mini computer were old. Those computers which were big in size, and microcomputer is which one are smaller in size. So in third generation MUPI, in third generation microprocessor was evolving towards one which performs all functions of mini computer. Okay, the mini computer can work with words, bytes, strings of characters, and instruction cycle of 1 millisecond. Instruction cycle means the time period during which one instruction is fetched from memory and executed when a computer is given an instruction in machine language. अब आपको पता है what is machine language, machine code, which is directly understood by machine. Okay, those instructions are stored somewhere in the memory. When the user gives some instruction to the processor, processor fetches the instruction from the memory and executes it. So the time period during which one instruction is fetched from memory and execute when a computer is given. The time period in which one instruction is fetched from the memory and execute is known as instruction cycle. So this fetching of the instruction and executing of the instruction in 1 microsecond. So all these capabilities were supposed to be in microprocessor, which mini computers could do at that particular time. In 1978, Intel introduced its high performance 16-bit microprocessor. As I had told you, in this generation we are going to talk about year 1978. In 1978, Intel introduced 16-bit microprocessor 8086. Now it is called IAPX86. Then 8086 was followed by Zilog Z8000 in 1979, Motorola 68000 in 1980. Okay, then fourth generation microprocessor. Fourth generation microprocessor is 32-bit microprocessor. Here we are going to talk about the year 1981. In 1981, Intel introduced a first 32-bit microprocessor 80386, which can address a physical memory of 4 GB, 4 gigabytes. Okay, it had physical memory of 4 GB. Fifth generation. Here in fifth generation, the speed was faster and it was developed to run new operating system like Unix. The processors in this generation is generally called by the name Pentium, Pentium 1, Pentium 2, Pentium 3, Pentium 4, etc. Nowadays, Intel has developed many processors with additional facilities like low voltage operating capability, processor handling mobile techniques. Okay, so these are the processors developed by Intel. Intel also produced quad core processors with greater speed and additional features. In next video we will discuss about microcomputer organization. Thank you.